Newsmax.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email. It's all right there, plus Newsmax TV. It's the Joe Pags Show. So glad to have you here, and so glad to have back Lara Trump. She, of course, is the president's daughter-in-law, Eric's wife, Luke's mom, and generally speaking, an incredible person. Lara, what's going on?
Oh, well, thank you. That was a very nice intro, and right back at you. Very nice person yourself, Joe.
Well,
Thanks for having me on.
It's all very true. And by the way, at a snap of her fingers could take my job and would end my career. She's that good a broadcaster, too. All right, so obviously you hate the workers. Obviously, you know, you said let them eat. No, see, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to be sarcastic because people would take what I'm saying and pretend that it was in context, and it's not. Lara Trump and Eric and the entire family, especially with you guys did with St. Jude and everything else, you guys are incredible. You obviously care an awful lot about people. You obviously are taking your visibility and your wealth and your success, and not only are you spreading it, but you're lifting people up. So you're doing an interview with somebody I'd never heard of the other day. Not to denigrate her. I don't know who she is. But in that interview, you're talking about how you know it's tough that workers aren't getting paid. You know that it's not easy to be furloughed and be in the middle of a political fight, but it's a small sacrifice for the future of our country. That was the context of it. And I'm looking at the People magazine headline right now. Not that that's a bastion of journalism, but Lara Trump says workers in shutdown going without pay is a bit of a pain for the country's future. Just a bit of, as if you walked in and said, hi, the workers, they're just giving a little bit of a sacrifice, no big deal. What else you want to talk about? But when you hear that misrepresentation, what goes through your mind?
Well, it's so incredibly frustrating. First of all, I have such empathy for the workers. And if anyone bothered, by the way, to listen to the entire interview that I did with Carrie Sheffield, the woman you were referencing, I think it was very clear, based on everything I said, based on the tone of my voice, the way I said it, that I have incredible empathy, and I really do feel deeply for these government workers that are not getting paid. By the way, I know a lot of these people personally. They have not been paid in weeks. They have families. They have mortgages. They have bills due. I get it. It is very tough. And all of a sudden, as the media likes to do, they pick out very specific words from an entire, very lengthy interview that I did and misconstrue them and misrepresent what I said and the way I said it. And now suddenly I am Marie Antoinette, and I am this horrible person that has no idea what I'm talking about and can never relate to these workers. Joe, I came from a middle-class family in North Carolina. I did not grow up in New York City, you know, with a silver spoon or anything that so many people, probably think I did. I grew up in a very middle-class family. I went to public school. The people that I grew up with who are still my friends today, a lot of them live like most Americans, paycheck to paycheck. So I know when something like this government shutdown happens and people don't get paid, it's very tough. But I think my whole point is that it's hard, and I feel greatly for these people, but the reality is the president is holding strong on this because he knows what's at stake here. And I truly believe this is the last opportunity that we will have as a country to address our broken immigration system. And I think the president knows that too. He's quite frankly the only person that wouldn't have folded by now, that would be standing up to Nancy Pelosi, to her colleagues who, by the way, if you want to blame someone for this, blame them. They haven't come to the table for any negotiations. They shoot down every offer the president makes. They won't even come over to the White House to meet with him. And so if you want to blame someone for this and you want to get upset with someone, let's talk to the Democrats. Call Nancy Pelosi and tell her she's got to do something. It's about time. So I'm obviously frustrated by it. It's not in my heart. They don't know, by the way, Joe, what's in my heart, the people that write all these crazy articles. But it's sadly the world we live in, and it's the way the cycle works. One person misconstrues something that you say and writes an article about it, and instead of doing due diligence and checking things out for themselves, and I use this word loosely, journalists out there instead run with a story that looks bad for the Trump family or for the president or for anyone who supports this president, and they splash it all over the place. So it's depressing, but the people who know me know my heart, and they know that that is nothing I would ever say, the way it was portrayed. But it's certainly frustrating, that's for sure.
No, I can bet. And of course, you trended, and it made big news, and I immediately said, well, I know her to an extent, so I don't think she would ever have said that. I don't think she feels that way. I know her family doesn't feel that way. Let me go and watch this. And I watched it, and I was overwhelmed, or I was overcome by this lack of journalism again. And this is in the same week or a week and a half where you had BuzzFeed reporting some unnamed source saying that Michael Cohen told the special counsel that the president told him to lie in front of Congress. And the special counsel does something unprecedented and comes out and makes a statement. That is inaccurate. BuzzFeed says, I don't know what he's talking about. We stand by our reporting. The bottom line is they lied, and the special counsel had to end his silence over 2 years and actually shoot it down. Then you have the kid wearing a Make America Great Again hat who is at a pro-life rally. He wants to make sure the sanctity of life is important in this country. Steps between one hate group and then a group of Native Americans, and doesn't do anything other than be white and wear a hat. That's all he did. And the media lied and said that he was starting trouble and he was bullying a guy and he was accosting a Vietnam veteran. Turns out the guy wasn't a Vietnam veteran. Turns out these kids were only trying to keep the peace. They were keeping two angry sides of this argument away from each other, and they've been sullied. So you've been a journalist. I was a journalist for a long time in my career. I'm an editorialist and a commentator now, but we know this is wrong, but we also know that it's working. There was a recent study said that more people trust the media. So how do we combat this crap? Even if it's not specifically about you or not specifically about me, how do we combat the idea that the information that's being disseminated is largely false on purpose?
Well, I think we have to do what we're doing right now. And, you know, I yesterday when this all happened to me, I said, well, am I going to make a bigger story out of this if I even respond? Should I just let it die? And then I said, you know what? No, it's my reputation. It's my name.
Right.
I didn't say things the way that they portrayed them. I think you have to push back. You have to say this isn't right. And quite frankly, if I were those kids from the Catholic school and their parents, I would seriously consider some lawsuits because this is defamatory. This is going to injure their reputation for possibly their lifetime. That one kid's face is out there forever. And his reputation has been sullied, and who knows if he will ever, you know, regain his anonymity or be able to, maybe he's not going to get a job one day because somebody remembers him from this. People have to start fighting for themselves and pushing back. And the sad thing is we do live in a space now where the media is more interested in being first to deliver a story than being right and being accurate and truthful in what they report. So they pounce on anything before they know all the facts and everything surrounding it, as evidenced with the kid in the MAGA hat, and then they run with these things, and it destroys people's lives. It's very, very hard to see how they have no conscience in this and how there are no more repercussions for it. But I think people have to start pushing back. So, you know, if you know something isn't right, if somebody is out there targeting you in a way like happened to me, like happened to this kid, you know, you see BuzzFeed. I mean, BuzzFeed, let's face it, has no credibility left whatsoever, but it's not right, and the American people as a whole, I think, have to start pushing back on these things and realizing you can't believe everything you read and you hear out there. She's
working hard to get the president reelected in 2020. I'm going to continue to work as hard as I can to make that happen too. It's Lara Trump. Go follow her at LARALEA TRUMP. There is no H in Lee, right? In your middle name, it's LEA.
Nope, LEA. Okay, you got it.
Right, so it's Lara Lee Trump on Twitter. Go and follow her there. She's an amazing mind, and I'm so thankful that we're friends. The fact is, we live in a day and age where I think you give them more credit than I will. You know, I'm with you that they want to be first. They want to be fast. But they also want to lie. And they also want to misconstrue.
That's true.
And they also want to make sure that it's always negative against the Trump family or anything that's right of center anyway. When you watch a Chris Cuomo who allows people to come on there and say that when I see the MAGA hat, that means the KKK hoods to me, and doesn't call them out. When you see people calling a guy who's not a Vietnam veteran, the guy was a refrigerator mechanic in Omaha. When that happens and it's misreported and the correction is always very quiet and very slight, you know that there's really something else going on here. So, again, you'll give him more credit than I will because I think you're a nicer person than I am. In the time we have remaining, let me just ask you about the shutdown. You and I have talked about this before. The reason why the workers are furloughed and that there's a partial shutdown is because Chuck Schumer decided not to have the Democrats agree to a funding bill that would have funded the government that also included, yes, 5 point whatever billion for the wall, which is a drop in the bucket. By the way, we send 10 billion to southern Mexico and the northern triangle in Central America to try to let them stay there and help their situation. So about half is what the president was asking for to build a wall that would protect our sovereignty. This is on Chuck Schumer. This is on Nancy Pelosi. Their spin, Hollywood spin, big academia spin, the music industry spin, all the left-wing outlets, their spin is this is Trump's shutdown. The president never had a bill on his desk to sign. It can't literally be his shutdown, but they're hanging it on him. So how does this thing end where people understand that he held firm because it was a promise that he made? He held firm because he loves the country. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are the ones that are disconnected and the reason for the shutdown, because we're not winning the narrative.
Well, it's so interesting to me to see that narrative out there, and then you actually look at the facts. Who is the only person who has said, here are some options to end this shutdown? That is the president. Yep. And the people that are saying, no, we don't want anything to do with them before they have even heard the president out are the Democrats. Nancy Pelosi said no to everything the president offered on Saturday as it relates to the DACA folks before he even finished his statement. So I don't understand how people are able to portray it as the president's shutdown, other than the fact that he is our president. Yeah. But, you know, what I keep saying with this entire thing, and the reason for all of this and the reason the president is so strong on this, as I said before, is that this is the only opportunity we're going to have to fix our broken immigration system. And the reality is we cannot move forward as a country forever with open borders and with the system we have in place now. Our country will not survive. It will not be the country that we have today. For our children and our children's children and generations to come will not know this country anymore if we don't fix this now. The reality is the president is the only one that has come to the table and said, I'm ready to negotiate. Somebody sit down with me and let's talk this out. And the Democrats have been saying no at every turn only because they don't want the president to gain anything here. They are more interested in hurting our country and the future of our country than letting the president get something that he promised the American people whenever they voted for him in 2016, which is border security and a new immigration system. I hope that we see some movement happening. I do hear some Democrats saying, wait a minute, we are willing to negotiate. I just saw Joe Manchin, actually, right before you and I had this interview here. I know Joe has said he's willing to do something because it's not right. And there have been several Democrats that are breaking with the ranks of Nancy and Chuck and saying, you know, you guys are a little extreme here. There is a space to negotiate here, especially, by the way, when the president is offering such a great deal and everybody can win.
What's odd to me is that, well, it's not odd. I sort of think, if I'm hedging my bets, that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are not in this for the workers, or not in this for the future of the country. They're in this just to stop your father-in-law from being able to fulfill a very important campaign promise, one that probably got him millions of votes when he said, we're going to build the wall, we're going to make the country safe. Do you agree with me that that's why they're doing it? It's all about politics and not really about anything else?
100%. This has nothing to do with anything but pure politics. And I think people are starting to realize that the more the president says, here's another offer I have, and the more they shut him down, I hope people see that, because they are only doing this because they want to win, and it's because it's this president. And not too long ago, they themselves said, we need more border security. We need something on our southern border in the form of a wall. So the hypocrisy is just staggering whenever you look at this thing as a whole. But listen, I'm really proud of the president for standing strong here on this one. I want every government worker out there to know they will be paid back. They're going to get their back pay. Everything will work out at some point for them. But I think it's so important that we move forward with a new immigration system, that something has to happen here. Somebody's going to have to sit down with the president, and we're going to have a resolution at some point.
It's Lara Trump. Lara, thanks a million. I really appreciate you. At Lara Lee Trump. Go follow her on Twitter, working hard to get her father-in-law reelected in 2020. Eric's wife and Luke's mom. Lara, thanks a million.
Absolutely, Joe. Great to be on with you.
Back after this in the Joe Pag Show. Stay right here.